Shalom. We continue with Psalm 47. For the leader of the Korahites, a psalm. All you peoples, clap your hands, raise a joyous shout for God, for the Lord Most High is awesome, great King over all the earth. He subjects peoples to us, sets nations at our feet. He chose our heritage for us, the pride of Jacob whom he loved, Selah. God ascends midst acclamation, the Lord to the blasts of the horn. Sing, O sing to God. Sing, O sing to our King. For God is King over all the earth. Sing a hymn. God reigns over the nations. God is seated on his holy throne. The great of the peoples are gathered together, the retinue of Abraham's God. For the guardian of the earth belongs to God. He is greatly exalted. Now, I have to admit, I'm a little confused. Which is it going to be? Are the nations of the earth going to be subjected to the Jewish people? And will God set the nations of the earth at our feet? Will we be chosen to lord it over other peoples of the earth? Or, as the psalm states later on, shall it be that God reigns over the nations, being seated on his holy throne, the great of all peoples will gather together to worship him? So which is it? Are we all equal or not? Does suggesting that the Jews are the chosen people mean that we are chosen above all other nations to exert power over them and lord it over them? Or is it that we are chosen in the sense of being a treasured nation who ourselves did the choosing? We chose to follow and accept the Torah and the way of life given by God to Moses and expressed throughout the generations and ages by our sages and our wise people. And that's what it's all about. We are the choosing people, not so much the chosen people. Every nation is treasured by God. Every nation, every culture is equal in God's eyes, so long as these nations and cultures practice the values of righteousness and compassion and goodness. And that gets us to a theme that is very much relevant today in today's world, and that is, in our own nation, the slogan, "Make America Great Again," is something that confuses me and makes me wonder. And in fact, I have to admit that I have some objection to that term. Now, it is not unique to the current administration in Washington. This slogan has come up before. For instance, in 1980, in the presidential election, Ronald Reagan used that slogan to defeat Jimmy Carter for the presidency. But it's not about making America great again. It's about making America good again. The value of greatness is something that is complex and indeed can be very, very tricky and even dangerous. Let me tell you why. Throughout history, in the ancient world and medieval times, up into the modern age, there were empires, there were nations that might have fit the definition of greatness. One example, of course, would be ancient Rome. Ancient Rome, in its power and might, in its ability to conquer many lands, in its ability to subjugate people to its will, to bend nations and cultures to its power, its technology, its wealth. So many of these qualities might have defined Rome as a great empire. And this would apply to other empires throughout history. But if you take that definition of greatness, then some might even suggest that you could apply it to Nazi Germany, God forbid, an evil and deplorable power that was able to expand what they called Lebensraum, or the room to live, by conquering nations, by exerting its evil will over other peoples, by exterminating Jews, homosexuals, gypsies, communists, and others who resisted its will. The definition of great is not something that we aspire to. We don't need to be the most powerful nation on the earth. We don't need to be the wealthiest nation on the earth. We don't need to have more space and more influence than all the other nations of the earth. What we need is to be good, to be a beacon and a paragon of righteousness and goodness. We need to be a country that shows the way to other countries and other nations, in the way that the Jewish people were charged by the prophets to be a light unto the nations, to show other nations the way towards the one true God by practicing principles of justice and righteousness. The Jewish people were noted, and our religion has been noted for our ability to believe that there is one true God. Our monotheistic faith abhors idolatry and rejects the efforts of human beings to usurp and to stand in the place of the one true God. And in that respect, by trying to live a good life and to try to be kind to one another, our neighbors and those who are not our neighbors, to treat everyone as equally as possible and practice principles of justice. This is something that we as Jews have aspired to and tried to live by for many centuries. I believe these are also the virtues that our country needs to practice and to live by, to take care of all of our citizens and the people who live in our land, to protect the rights of everyone, people of color, Caucasians, immigrants, the elderly, children. Everyone in our country needs to be protected and taken care of fairly by a fair and just government. So it's not about greatness. Being great does not necessarily mean being good. But being good is what it is all about. Today, as protests continue throughout our country, protests that include the Black Lives Matter movement and other movements that call for justice of people of all ethnic and racial backgrounds in our country. These protests stand for and call for a nation that will protect the rights and guarantee the rights of all of its citizens equally. I hope and pray that we will make progress in that regard. We have such a long way to go, and there are other nations who have exceeded us, far surpassed us in some of these respects. But it is up to us as America to be a beacon of light to the world. It is up to our democracy, in my view, to help show the way towards a nation that is based upon righteousness, justice, and goodness. Thank you.